Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and I am just back from the always beautiful Carnival Breeze, where I always have a good time. But this time, it was for a special event, the Carnival 50th Anniversary Sail-A-Bration. Let's see where that went coming up next. Okay, let's get on board the breeze and on board with this celebration. Now, the celebration had a lot of selling points. Sail, S-A-I-L, Abration, had a lot of selling points, S-E-L-L-I-N-G points. And there was a whole list of things to celebrate this big 50th anniversary milestone. In fact, I'm kind of going to read off a bit of a list here. From the original promotional stuff, up to, they changed it a little bit towards the end, and we're going to come to that. But back in the old days, back 2 years ago, back a year ago, back 3 months ago, this was kind of what we were seeing on Carnival's site for booking the celebration. We're going to have throwback menu items, right? We're going to look back to the old days of cruising. We're going to bring back things like duck à l'orange and cherries jubilee and cappuccino pie, and even more exciting, because we haven't seen this in a while, the big midnight gala buffet. Now, if you're an old time cruiser, I'm not that old, but if you were cruising, say 20 years ago and longer, every cruiser would be a big midnight buffet. And I mean, it was huge, and it had all this sort of sculpted fruit and sculpted vegetables and ice carving. It was at midnight. Everybody showed up for it, right? So they're going to bring that back. Very, very exciting. A lot of people looking forward to it. We also had this idea of having throwback sea days. Let's look back to the old days. Now, I don't think Carnival's changed all that much sea day wise, but they have a little bit. Maybe the nature of the games has changed. We're going to have a throwback sea day, right? We're going to do things like the old days on Carnival to celebrate these 50 years. Going to have, though, some new stuff. Got some new drinks. Now, there were about 4 drinks they kind of publicized. Golden Ale, which they're going to brew it on the Vista class ships and the Mardi Gras for those ships, but it's available on the other ships, but it's not brewed on the other Carnival ships and then shipped over. It was brewed somewhere in Florida and then brought on board. But we're going to have this new Golden Ale. You're going to hear this too, like a delicious golden frozen drink was one of the drinks. They use gold a lot because it is the golden anniversary, right? 50th anniversary. But also, originally, Carnival's fleet, I guess in the old days, was called the Golden Fleet. That's what the original founder of Carnival called it. What's a Golden Fleet? So, a golden ale, a golden frozen drink. There was going to be birthday Bellinis and birthday kind of martinis, or like a Cosmo, like a Carnival Cosmo, I think they called it. So, those were the 4 new drinks, and some of them, at least, were supposed to come in a specialty glass that you could take home with you. I guess if you wanted to buy the specialty glass version, sometimes, they'll have like a souvenir cup or whatever, right? So it's going to be something like that, right? I know the ale was supposed to come in a mug or with a mug if it was the canned version. Okay. So you can take those home, and you can also take home a whole bunch of merch, naturally, right? There's a promise of all these different merchandise items and shirts and hats and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that was on there. And what I thought was really exciting, a brand new Build-A-Bear, brand new fluffy companion you can take home from the big Build-A-Bear birthday party for the 50th anniversary. And the piece de resistance, right? The piece de la resistance. Big cruise ship meetup out in the ocean for a big celebratory party. Lots of deck parties. There's supposed to be like some special guests and some sing-alongs from old musical favorites. I don't know what. I was thinking like maybe the old Kathy Lee Gifford songs, from the commercials. I don't know. So that was going to happen. And at the end of the night, at the end of this big ship meetup celebration, there was going to be a special nighttime finale, right? To cap off this celebration. And I think there were a few other kind of smaller things tossed in there. I'm probably leaving some of them off the list, but that's it. That's it in a nutshell for the big 50th anniversary. Now, spoiler alert. Almost none of it happened. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say before we get into the bad news, I had a great cruise. The cruise was fantastic. The cruise part was fantastic. We had Cookie as a cruise director. He's an excellent cruise director. In fact, he's probably the best one I've ever had on Carnival, and a substantial asset for the Carnival Corporation. He always is high energy. He always gives 150%. This cruise, he had to give 200% in order to try to keep people happy. And he's always out and about on the ship. He's always interacting with people. He is a prototypical example of the perfect cruise director. And he was on board. That really helped a lot. That really helped make it a great cruise. And they needed him this time. There were 4,000 plus passengers on the Carnival Breeze. That's max capacity for the Carnival Breeze, and not max COVID capacity, max anytime capacity. This was the first, and maybe the other ships in these sailings were the first truly full Carnival cruise ships for 2 years, since it shut down 2 years ago. And that part was great. With that cruise director and that many people, it made for a very lively party atmosphere, and it made the cruise a lot of fun. Cookie definitely needed the people. There were some disappointed people on this cruise. There were some people who were really upset. And especially after the big ship meetup, there were people that were even more upset. Now, there were a lot of people like myself where it was kind of like, yeah, that kind of was meh, kind of but hey, we were still having a great time. We really did have a great time. So Cookie put in 200% on this cruise to make sure we had a great time. He tried. But despite that trying, and I do think he was successful cruise-wise, the cruise was great. The cruise really was good. The Sail-A-Bration was really just a week-long string of excuses for why they really didn't do much of what they promised to do. I don't want to say promise. I hate that word promise with business, but they marketed that they were going to do. Yeah, it was pretty much just a week-long string of excuses. Let me look over here at my notes. Mostly surrounding COVID. Like, we couldn't do it because of COVID. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures here. Well, real quick. Does it look like they were really concerned about COVID? I mean, really? Does it? When you fill your ship to max capacity, literally cram 4,000 people onto the breeze, are you really concerned about COVID? Because I had a lot of trouble believing that excuse. That's what they offered up when they canceled the midnight buffet. It was very disappointing. Well, we can't do it because of COVID. There'd just be too many people swarming that food, and we couldn't do it. Now, never mind, they've had a buffet since they reopened back on Lido. You could do it there. I mean, we would have accepted, okay, it's on Lido instead of the grand dining room or wherever. Because of COVID, we need all the sneeze guards and stuff in place. Totally get that. I think we would have accepted that. But yeah, no, it was such a bullshit excuse that it was COVID. It was COVID. The other big excuse was supply chain issues. Now, there are supply chain issues. There are. I'm in business. I have a small business. We've had numerous supply chain issues. It's been going on for 2 long years, as you guys know. But that's why I plan in advance, and I order things in advance, and I store them in advance. Planning and advanced preparation goes a long ways to resolving supply chain issues. So they canceled the midnight buffet, and they were supposed to have kind of a string of menu throwbacks, right? That was converted into one night, a throwback night, except that the throwback really wasn't much. First of all, first thing was it really wasn't much. There were about 6 items, I think 2 appetizers, 2 entrees, 2 desserts. But one of the appetizers, one of them was called like Scotch broth, I think. And I think it was like a barley soup, a barley broth. And what was the other one? God, I can't even remember. That's how, I guess, lame it was. Oh, like a roasted pear and fennel salad, which to me did not really sound like a throwback. It sounds like a fairly modern dish. I don't know that I've ever seen it on the menu. And both of those I've not seen on the menu. I don't even know those are the throwback items. There was nothing to differentiate it except I haven't seen it. So I think those are the two items. On entrees, you had the supreme of poulet farci, which was spinach stuffed chicken. Yeah, chicken breasts, spinach stuffed chicken breasts with kind of a cheese sauce, And it was okay. I mean, it was fine. Again, I assume it's a throwback because of the name. The name sounds like a throwback. That sounds like a 70s dish. And because I've never seen it before, I couldn't really tell from the menu what the other throwback items were supposed to be. I kind of thought, or item, because a lot of them definitely weren't. I kind of thought maybe the jerk chicken, but I would assume, I think that's been served relatively recently, kind of like the Bake Alaska. They made a big deal of bringing the Bake Alaska back for the last night, but I would swear, now I don't eat in the MDR as much as I used to, but I would swear they had that in 2016. The first time I took my son on a trip, I would swear they had it then, so it doesn't seem like much of a throwback. Really? I mean, did they stop serving it? I don't know, but that's my guess. On dessert, you had babalu cake, which they also brought out sometimes with a 50 candle on top, but it wasn't lit, but just the, kind of decoration stuck on there. And so I'm assuming that was doubling as a throwback item and kind of the birthday cake, but they also had a carnival birthday cake, which we'll go over in a little bit, but that was there. And then like a roasted pear dessert. I don't really know what it was. You can see it here on the menu. I didn't order it, obviously. And again, I'm guessing that's the throwback item simply because I've not seen it before. But it's interesting that two of the items that I think were throwback items involve pears. I guess pears are in season right now. And cherries are not, because we never got any of the other stuff like duck all orange, cherries jubilee, cappuccino pie, any of that. No, none of that. The other thing I didn't like was because we were on the breeze and it was a 5-day, they had a different menu. So if you were on the 7-day, like say Vista, they did not tell us this to begin with, naturally. You got a better menu. Yeah, you got everything we got, plus you got additional things added to it, like a really great looking salmon. Again, doesn't seem like a throwback item to me, but I don't recognize it. And you got beef Wellington was also on there. I know. I don't remember all of them, but those two for sure. Which I really didn't appreciate that. I mean, our ship is just as full of passengers as Vista, so we need just as much food on a nightly basis. And we certainly paid as much. We'll come back to paying at the end, but certainly paid as much. But that was where it stood with food, drinks. We had 3 of the drinks. They had beer. They ran out some, during the voyage supply chain, I guess, even though it's in Florida and right at the dock. I don't know. So anyway, they ran out of the beer. They had the Bellinis at brunch. So you can only get them twice during the voyage, and it was at brunch. And they did have the Carnival Cosmo. I don't think they sold very many of those. I didn't actually see any like a place card or whatever for those. I just knew they were supposed to be there. And they were only available at the lobby bar. I did have one, and it was good enough. I never saw the golden frozen drink didn't materialize. That's why I don't know the name of it. It never came about. They obviously, I don't know. Why is it hard to make a golden drink? It shouldn't be that hard. If nothing else, just pour some food coloring into it. A margarita. Pour some food coloring into like a pina colada, and I don't know. Throw some pineapple flavoring in there or something, and you're good to go, Carnival. There's your golden drink, frozen drink right there. That wasn't there either. Okay, so as I said, there was also a 50th anniversary cake. You can tell from the picture, not nearly enough for 4,000 people. Shit. God damn it. Okay, so as I said, there was also a 50th anniversary cake. This is a picture of it. It was pretty. It was really pretty cake, and they actually did some, fruit carving there around it. Okay. There obviously was not enough for 4,000 people, not by a long shot. And this is the only one they had. Some other ships claim that their cake was actually like a cardboard form with just icing on it. That could be the case. In our case on the Breeze, it was a real cake. I asked if it was real, and they said it was. And then later people actually showed pictures where they did eat it, and it was cut. They didn't announce it like in the schedule of events. Not that I ever recall seeing. I think they probably, which again, how could they? I mean, there just really wasn't enough for maybe, I don't know. You tell me 100 people, maybe from that cake, maybe. The Babalu cake, though, like I said, that was kind of the 50th too. It was good. That was a good cake. I can't tackle that in food, but that ours was a real cake. There wasn't enough for everybody. There wasn't enough of anything for everybody. Like I said, we ran out of beer too. The merchandise, they didn't have anything like t-shirts or hats, anything like that. What they did have was wildly inconsistent in availability. So Christmas ornaments, I think maybe they had 24. They had maybe like 24 of the insulated wine glasses or glasses. They had, I don't know if they even had the crystal ship. I mean, they just really didn't have much. And they sold out of several things just immediately. Okay. Just as soon as the doors opened, they sold out. But they had a ton of swizzle sticks. 50th anniversary swizzle sticks for your at-home bar. I can see where that's kind of a throwback, but I mean, they had a ton of them. They also had a ton of these glasses. I'll show you a picture of the glass I bought. They had a ton of those, but my other thought is they actually didn't have a ton. They just didn't sell any of them. Because if you look at this one, the Carnival label's on crooked. I didn't look close enough. So maybe a lot of people either brought them back or did look close enough and didn't buy them. You also had a ton of like keychains and these flashing lapel pins. Now, in the end, I did buy 2 of those. I bought the keychain at first. That's all I saw, really. And to use as Christmas ornaments, because the ornaments were gone like that. And it was nobody hoarding. Some ships reported hoarding, but there was nobody hoarding. That was just people buying like 1 or maybe 2 each that I saw, right? It's just they didn't have any. They didn't have hardly any, right? Okay. So I bought them for that reason. There was no throwback sea day at all. At one point, God loved Cookie and his staff. I know that they knew people were disappointed after the ship meetup. Of course they did. We all knew it. We all knew it because we were all kind of disappointed in that part of it. They did have a hairy chest contest, but for some reason, they made a big deal how it was not a hairy chest contest because they couldn't have a hairy chest contest, which would seem to imply that Carnival outright quashed and squashed throwback sea days. I don't know, worried about politically correct behavior, maybe. I have no idea. But they kept making that big deal that it really wasn't like that. It was like this normal sort of Carnival sea day stuff. They were just, just have a hairy chest as a guy if you were going to participate. Obviously, and that did play into it. They did play into it. And it was a lot of fun. It was a fun kind of throwback. But that was the only thing that really counted. And like I said, that seemed to be something maybe they were skirting the issue on to try to increase what Carnival said they would do. And I do feel like the staff tried really hard to do what Carnival promised with almost no help from Carnival, essentially. Okay, and so that was after the ship meetup. Like I said, a lot of people were disappointed after that. The ships did meet up. There were 7 of us. It was